Yeah. Thank you for coming. It's lovely to see some support. Has anyone been to Xi'an before I start? Oh, you have, John. Oh, Heinz, okay. So if I don't give all the correct information, you can correct me, okay? Okay, so my traveller's talk today is about my recent trip to Xi'an with John Payton, who's just sitting there, and we did that in March, and I'll intersperse it with savvy tips on how to accumulate Qantas Frequent Flyer points, how to use them wisely, and how to climb up the Qantas status ladder. Now, sorry if you're a Velocity member with Virgin, so I'm not covering Virgin points today, but essentially the same rules apply. So I'll cover the topics. Are we? There we are. So why did I want to go? Where is Xi'an? How did I get there? How did I get around? The sights of Xi'an. What hotel did I use? When should you visit? And how to accumulate Qantas Frequent Flyer points. Right, why did I want to go to Xi'an? Well, if I'm perfectly honest, it was to maintain my Qantas status. I had to go somewhere before June to maintain my gold status, which gives you access to One World lounges and many other benefits. I visited Beijing and Shanghai, and Xi'an was the only city in China I still really wanted to go to, but somehow had never quite made it. It is, of course, home to the Terracotta Warriors. Just quickly, there they are, which is enough of a reason to go. Where is Xi'an? Xi'an is located in the central northwestern part of China, specifically the Shaanxi province. It's the provincial capital and a major city in the Guangdong Plain. The city is situated on the south bank of the Wye River, with the Qin Mountains rising to the south. How did I get there? Well, I accumulated 1 million frequent flyer points since the beginning of COVID, and I wasn't flying anywhere. So I figured this might be a trip where I could burn a few of those points. So I decided I'd do this trip really myself. I didn't get a travel agent. I'm used to organising my own travel. Mind you, I do sometimes use travel agents. But on this occasion, I thought I can really do it all myself. My advice is not to use points on domestic travel. You get much better value using them on international flights to either upgrade or simply booking business or premium economy, or even first, should you be so lucky. I found an amazing special in economy to Hong Kong, so I booked that a little reluctantly because it's a 9-hour flight and I'd usually fly premium for that length of time, but Qantas does not have premium to Hong Kong. As it turned out, it was fine because it was a daytime flight, but coming home on the overnight flight was challenging. Okay, now I had to get from Hong Kong to Xi'an, a 4-hour flight. I knew Cathay Pacific flew that route, so I went on to Qantas Frequent Flyer knowing Cathay was part of the One World network. Cathay have at least one daily flight to Xi'an. I found 2 seats were available, because I was taking John with me, in business class. Now, these would normally have cost $2,300 return. That's Hong Kong, Xi'an, Hong Kong. But by using just 60,000 points each, I got them for $149. So $2,300, but I only paid $149. An absolute bargain. Of course, I could have flown in economy for less points, but I figured we needed a bit of luxury after the flight from Sydney to Hong Kong. The Cathay service was excellent. Here's the business class seat. And we had delicious meals both ways, along with a never-ending supply of drinks. Now, this is an example of how you can use points if you book a fair way ahead, which I did, and if you do a little bit of research. I'll give more tips on how to accumulate points quickly at the end of this talk. Just a word about visas into China for Australians. If you intend entering the country for less than 240 hours, that's 10 days, in transit to another country, you can get your visa at the airport at the international visa-free counter. There are no fees to do this. You simply show your passport and your airline ticket with the date you're departing. Until recently, Australians could only stay for 144 hours, but this was extended to 240 hours in December 24. Not every entry point or port into China has this facility, so double check before you go and be aware the visa is for the specific area you're visiting. In my case, it was for the city of Xi'an and the surrounding area. If you intend an extensive tour of China, you need a traditional visa, which costs about $70 for a single entry and $89 for multiple entries. A multiple entry visa for 6 months is $100, and a 1-year visa will cost $150. These are standard prices only, so you may need to pay more depending on the visa type. Normally your travel agent or tour operator would look after those matters, assuming you're using someone. But I was one of the first Australian visitors to use the international visa free in May 2018 when I visited Beijing on my way to London. There were very few cities in China offering a 72-hour visa free visit then, but Beijing was one of them. I caused quite a stir at Sydney Airport checking in when they couldn't find a visa in my passport. But after they did some checking, they came back and said I was right and that I was the first patient they'd had through so far using this new visa type. In those days, it was just the 72 hours. That was the maximum time you could stay. When I arrived in Beijing Airport, it was very simple. There was a dedicated counter, clearly marked international visa free. By the way, that entire trip around the world using frequent flyer points, all in business class and actually in first class with British Airways from Beijing to London, cost me about $1,000. Going across the United States with American Airlines cost me $5. And I was in business class, or what they call first class, because American Airlines doesn't charge much in tax, whereas you'll find Qantas, BA, Iberia all tend to charge much higher taxes. But nevertheless, I'll be going back a few years, but it was still an amazingly cheap way to go around the world. So how did I get around? I found a tour operator, simply called China Xi'An Tour. It proved to be a wise choice. I'd used a similar company in Beijing about 8 years ago. They include airport hotel transfers, an English-speaking guide, entrance tickets to all sites, an air-conditioned vehicle with a licensed driver, a bottle of mineral water daily per person, and of course full-day tours. We were there for 4 days. The cost was US $255 each. We had the vehicle to ourselves. Our Chinese guide, Betty, there she is with John and myself, was fabulous. She spoke excellent English, had a great sense of humour, was always punctual, and incorporated things we wanted to do, like could we stop for a coffee? Anyway, she incorporated that effortlessly into the schedule. Because it was only the two of us, she took us to additional sites she wouldn't normally have had time for with a group of 10 to 15. Okay, the sites of Xi'an. Xi'an is the capital of the Chinese province of Jiangxi. We've seen that map, haven't we? So, yeah, I'll be getting onto that in a minute. It is the third most populous city in Western China with a total population of 13 million. That's a half of Australia's population, to put it into perspective. Known as Xi'An throughout much of its history, Xi'an is one of China's 4 great ancient capitals. The city was one of the terminal points on the Silk Road during the ancient and medieval eras, as well as the home of the 3rd century BC terracotta army. It is now the second most populous tourist destination in China. The main sites are, and I'll go through all of these, it was the Terracotta Warriors. That's one of them there. The Terracotta Army was discovered accidentally by farmer Yang Shifa, and I've got a picture of him. I'll show you him in a minute. And his brothers in March 1974 while digging a well near the Queen Emperor's tomb, and they uncovered fragments of pottery. This pottery led to the discovery of the first warrior of the famous Terracotta Army. The discovery was a complete surprise to everyone because there were no historical records of them. They had sat untouched underground for more than 2,200 years. It is the largest and most important tomb site in China. More than 2,000 warriors and horses have been excavated from 3 different burial pits, with an estimated 6,000 still buried. Incredibly, each warrior has unique facial features and styles. The warriors of different ranks were buried in battle formation. They were part of China's first Emperor Queen Shi Huang's search for immortality. Covering an area of 56 square kilometres, it is the biggest burial site on Earth. In 1987, the site was given UNESCO World Heritage status. It's not just soldiers. There are terracotta acrobats, strongmen, stables full of horses, entertainers, chariots, musicians, and bronze water birds. These figures were an early feat of mass production. Government labourers and local craftsmen created the warriors in workshops. Originally, the warriors were not terracotta colour, that we see today, but would have been painted in bright colours. After the warriors were painted, they were then placed in military formation in the pits and were equipped with real bronze weapons. More than 40,000 weapons have been found so far. Oh, right, he's the chap that found them. He's 76 now, and we were very, very lucky to meet him because he's not always there. So it was quite a thrill, really. He was very friendly. Anyway, the greatest mystery is still to be revealed. Emperor Xi'An's actual tomb is still sealed up. There have been geophysical surveys of the tomb mound, but the mausoleum itself has not been excavated. It supposedly contains many rare artefacts and treasures. In addition, the two great rivers of China, the Yangtze and Yellow River, were simulated in the tomb using mercury, and the tomb ceiling was decorated with heavenly constellations. From here, the emperor could continue to rule over his empire even in the afterlife. The Giant Wild Goose Pagoda. The Giant Wild Goose Pagoda is a monumental Buddhist pagoda. It was built to preserve the hundreds of Sanskrit scriptures brought back from India by 7th century Buddhist monk Xuanzang. The region was built in 652 during the Tang dynasty and stood at 60 metres. It was constructed of rammed earth with a stone exterior facade but collapsed 50 years later. The pagoda was rebuilt in 704 during the Ming dynasty, and its exterior brick facade was renovated and 5 stories were added. We've got a couple more of it, yeah. A massive earthquake in 1556 heavily damaged the pagoda and reduced it by 3 stories to its current height of 7. The structure leans very perceptibly to the west by several degrees. The pagoda was extensively repaired between 1638 and 1644 and renovated again in 1964. By the way, that earthquake is the deadliest earthquake in recorded history, with an estimated death toll of 830,000 people. The magnitude is estimated to have been 8 on the Richter scale and caused widespread destruction, including levelling mountains, altering river paths and triggering massive flooding and fires. It also resulted in the death of many people from famine and plague following the initial destruction. When I asked Betty if Xi'An has earthquakes, she sort of dismissed my inquiry and said, "Oh no, they're only in the south." Obviously, 1556 earthquake was so long ago it wasn't worth mentioning. The music, oh hang on, there's a few more of those I think. It's quite beautiful. These were some people that, a lot of the women dress up in traditional costume and just wander the streets, young women. Like, I'll connect back to that in a minute. I want to do the music fountain show. In recent years, in the area to the north and south of the Wild Goose Pagoda, an enormous plaza has been built. The South Plaza covers an area of 32 acres and includes a statue of Xuanzang, the monk who brought the Sanskrits back from India. There's landscape gardens, granite paving and many impressive statues. The North Plaza stretches 300 metres from north to south and 450 from east to west. It mainly consists of a central water feature, the Tang Culture Theme Plaza. That's this. It's a dazzling display of water, light and music that has earned its reputation as the largest in Asia. And I think I've actually got... Oh, this is... Being much taller than Chinese, I was able to reach over them. That was very handy. Okay, the Xi'An city walls. These are the best preserved and most complete city wall that has survived in China, as well as being one of the largest military defensive systems in the world. The walls were built in 1370 during the Ming dynasty and are located around the city centre of Xi'An. It exhibits the complete features of the rampart architecture of feudal society. It is situated at the end of the ancient Silk Road. The Xi'An wall is rectangular in shape and has a total length of 14 kilometres. Along the top of the wall is a walkway. Let's see if I can get to that. Yeah, you can see a bit of it there. Which would typically take 4 hours to cover. As a defence fortification, it was constructed with a moat, drawbridges, watchtowers, corner towers, parapet walls and gate towers. The wall is 12 metres in height, with a width of 12 to 14 metres at the top and 15 to 18 metres at the base. The wall has been refurbished many times since it was built, thrice in intervals of about 200 years in the latter half of the 1500s and 1700s, and in recent years in 1983. How are we going for time? Oh, yeah, okay. In the first decade of the 20th century, the wall's defence system was considered to be of strategic importance, even though demolishing of similar walls in other regions of the country were undertaken following the 1911 revolution. In 1926, the wall was attacked with bombs by enemy forces, resulting in serious structural damage, but the city within the wall was not affected. Let's show a bit more. I think I've got some of the moat there too somewhere. During the Second World War, when the Japanese carried out air bombings from 1937 to 1940, the residents built around 1,000 bunkers as anti-aircraft shelters within the wide base of 15 metres. In recent times, new gates to allow traffic through were constructed. You saw an image of that earlier. Betty, our guide, took us to a fascinating street food market that operates strictly until 10 a.m. next to the Xi'An city walls, and the variety of vegetables was amazing. I'll just show you. Oh, there they are. Some of them were most peculiar. That's a lettuce, apparently. The Drum Tower and Square. Oh, there's a bit more. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Right, the Xi'An Museum. This impressive museum opened in 2007. The complex includes 3 parts: the museum proper, the Tang-era small wild goose pagoda, which I'll talk about in a minute, and the Xi'Anfu temple. The museum proper is huge. Let me get a picture. There it is. And the exhibition section has an area of over 16,000 square metres, and the exhibits occupy more than 5,000 square metres. The museum's collection includes 130,000 artefacts. You really need a minimum of half a day just to scratch the surface. I was impressed most exhibits have an English translation. The museum really was a treasure trove that seamlessly combined relic exhibition halls, historic sites and outside picturesque gardens. Right, the small wild goose pagoda. This is in the grounds and gardens of the Xi'An Museum and is part of the entrance fee to the museum and is only a short walk away. It was built between 707 and 709 during the Tang dynasty. The pagoda stood 45 metres high until the 1556 earthquake. The earthquake shook the pagoda and damaged it so that it now stands at a height of 43 metres with 15 levels of tiers. The pagoda has a brick frame built around a hollow interior, and its square base and shape reflect the building style of other pagodas from the era. During its long history, the small wild goose pagoda has been a silent witness to a lot of changes and has withstood them all. It has also survived over 70 earthquakes. So much for Betty saying we didn't have earthquakes there. In recent examinations, it has been discovered that the original creators built the foundations in the shape of a semicircular sphere. Because of this innovation, when an earthquake hits, the pressure is spread equally, allowing the pagoda to survive. You'll notice there is wear and tear on the multi-eaves on each tier, and there are no plans to repair these. You can see where they've sort of worn away there. This pagoda, along with the giant wild goose pagoda and other sites along the Silk Road, were inscribed in 2014 on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Okay, the Hangling Museum. This is 20 kilometres to the north of Xi'an city centre and is situated very close to the airport and is also known as the Yanling Mausoleum of Han. It is the mausoleum of both Emperor Jin, who ruled from 157 to 141 BC, the 6th emperor of Western Han Dynasty, and his Empress Wang. The larger of the two mounds is the burial place of Emperor Jin, and it sits next to the slightly smaller mound of Empress Wang. The Han Yang Ling is composed of these 2 large burial mounds, 86 smaller burial pits and criminals' graveyards. The site today hosts a very impressive museum where 21 of the pits are accessible to visitors. That's one of the mounds. That's what it originally looked like. That's him. Whatever you can read that, I'll leave it up there for a minute. The Xi'An Ling is composed of these 2 large burial mounds, 86... Oh no, I said that, haven't I? Yes. The pits display more than 50,000 miniature terracotta figures reflecting the daily life of the Han Emperor's court, including eunuchs, servants, tools and domesticated animals. The human figurines are naked, but were originally clothed with exquisite fabrics that decayed in the space of 2 millennia. The complex is one of the 5 mausoleums of the Western Han dynasty. Compared to the early and much more famous terracotta army of the First Qin dynasty, 210 BC, the terracotta statues of Xi'An Ling are much smaller in size, about 50 centimetres in height, were also much less militaristic, softer in style and give a bigger weight to daily life. In 2016, the discovery of the earliest known traces of tea were found, indicating that the tea was drunk by the Han Dynasty emperors as early as the 2nd century BC. One great bonus of visiting Xi'An Ling was the lack of visitors. Whereas the terracotta army site had tens of thousands of visitors, here you couldn't count them on one hand. It was blissful, wasn't it, John? Just amazing. The museum is extraordinary, with very thick glass plate walkways over the pits, which are all roofed, and then all the displays are beautifully illuminated. And in most cases, they're an English translation of what you're looking at. I was pretty impressed with that. These guys were holding reins, for the chariots. This was another building where there used to be a wall that surrounded it, and they've completely covered the wall over to preserve it with this massive building. Okay, what hotel did I use? Now, this is where frequent flyers can come in and help you. I have an Accor Plus membership card, so I decided to look for a hotel covered by this French chain, Sofitel, Novotel, Mercure, etc. Because I receive at least 10% off the rack rate and often more, I also have my Accor linked to my Qantas Frequent Flyer membership, so effectively I double dip. I receive Accor points per stay, and when they reach 2,000 points, which isn't difficult to achieve, I earn a €40 voucher, which I can use to pay for breakfast or get a deduction or something. I also receive Qantas Frequent Flyer points per stay. I opted for the Sofitel Xi'An on Renmin Square and chose an executive floor which gave us access to their Millisamy lounge and private check-in and check-out, complimentary breakfast and afternoon tea, all-day refreshments and alcohol, and effectively a free dinner because they served a substantial snack, food and table service after 5 p.m. At $750 for 4 nights, I consider this pretty good value. It's just down on the breakfast. I'll get that in a minute. When should you visit Xi'An? I visited for 4 days in mid-March this year. This is cherry blossom time. You saw probably some of those images of the cherry blossom a moment ago. That's spring in the northern hemisphere. The daytime temperature varied from 10 to 14 degrees, but it was sunny. Within 3 weeks of departing, I noticed it was 20 degrees on some days. The Wye River Valley is characterised by hot, humid summers, cold, dry winters and dry springs and autumns. Therefore, I'd visit in April, May or September, October. I would avoid visiting in summer, July, August, when it can be up to 46 degrees according to our guide, and humid. Most visitors go to Xi'An to see the terracotta warriors, and they go in their millions, particularly during the summer months. Another reason not to go then. Even in March, there were thousands of people visiting the terracotta warriors. Right, how did I accumulate Qantas Frequent Flyer points, or how do you quickly? Right, this is how to do it. First of all, you fly with Qantas. You link your credit card to Qantas. You join BP Rewards, join the Qantas Wine Club and look for bonus cases. That's the most lucrative way, by the way, of doing it. Join Woolworths Rewards, book hotels through Qantas Hotels, use Qantas Insurance, Qantas Wellbeing, Qantas Pay and Qantas Shopping. Now, a lot of what I'm about to tell you may already know, so I apologise in advance, but for novice frequent flyers it might be useful. And what I'm about to tell you may appear to be a promotion for Qantas, but it has the largest number of members of any airline in Australia, so I thought it best to talk about their program. So, fly with Qantas. You'll need to be a member of the Qantas Frequent Flyer program. It's easy to join, just go to the Qantas website. There is a standard joining fee of $89.50, but this can be avoided. Some banks offer free join options when you opt to get one of their Qantas Link cards. Google free join Qantas Frequent Flyer for other ways to avoid the fee. Link your credit card. You'll need a credit card linked to your Qantas Frequent Flyer. There are many, most of the big four banks have them, but just be aware of the fees your bank charges to have this card. If you rarely fly or really want to fly anywhere, it may not be worth the fee. I have an ANZ Frequent Flyer Visa Platinum card with a total annual fee of $2.95. It's probably not the best card on the market because you earn 3/4 of a Qantas point up to and including $3,000 and half a Qantas point for every dollar over $3,000. But this card may be eligible for complimentary travel insurance, plus cover for rental vehicle excess in Australia when you purchase travel using your ANZ card. If you have pre-existing conditions though, read the fine print, because it may not cover those. But like all credit cards, of course, you must pay off the full amount at the end of each month or be hit by the very high interest charges. This card, like many of the other three banks, will often offer a bonus point special if you join, but there's usually a catch. You have to spend a minimum amount within a certain time to receive the special. They may also offer free Qantas Frequent Flyer membership. I prefer to use my Qantas American Express Premium card and do so to pay for pretty much everything I possibly can, from supermarket shopping to hotels, Qantas flights, insurance, etc. The annual fee is $149 with I think a $55 rewards member fee. This card earns 2 Qantas points per dollar on Qantas products and services and 1 Qantas point on everyday purchases and half a Qantas point on government bodies in Australia. There is uncapped earning potential with no limit on the amount of Qantas points you can earn. You receive 2 complimentary Qantas Club lounge invitations each year after your first spend on selected Qantas products and services in Australia. You also receive complimentary domestic and international travel insurance when you purchase a return trip on your card. That's very important. The policy includes cover for medical emergency expenses, cancellations and a range of cover for COVID. If you have pre-existing conditions, read the fine print because you may not be covered. As mentioned with the ANZ card, you need to pay it off, of course, at the end of each month. Right, join BP Rewards. You can link your Qantas Frequent Flyer card to BP. You earn 2 Qantas points per dollar with BP Ultimate and 1 point per dollar for all other fuel. You earn 1 point on eligible in-store purchases. BP often has bonus promotions where you may get 3 or 5 bonus Qantas points per dollar spent on fuel. They're often a requirement you spend, say, a minimum of $50 or $60. They also have in-store bonus promotions. But just check the price of the fuel per litre because it may not be worth it. You may find you can get cheaper petrol with another company and it may not be worth the points you're getting, so you just need to check that out. Alternatively, join BP Rewards, which is sort of this card. It's a BP loyalty program, but you can choose between earning their points or Qantas points. You can just ask at the time or tell them at the time which one you want. You can join this online. You need to be a member of the Qantas Frequent Flyer program. Qantas Wine. If you purchase wine from the Qantas Wine Club, you receive 1 frequent flyer point per dollar spent. Free delivery is offered to all customers on purchases of over $300. If you become a Qantas Wine Premium member, you receive 3 frequent flyer points per dollar spent, free delivery and member deals and special offers. Complimentary membership is offered to Amex Express Ultimate and Amex Premium Titanium members, Qantas Platinum 1 members, Accor All Gold, Platinum or Diamond status, and Qantas Business Rewards members. I'll tell you more on Business Rewards in a moment. Qantas Wine also offers free premium membership during special promotions. Qantas Wine offers bonus wines weekly. This can be an extraordinarily quick way to accumulate a large number of points. You might find yourself short of points for a particular flight you want to take, say 10 or 20,000. By buying a bonus wine case, you can easily reach either amount. You, of course, need to be someone that enjoys a glass of wine, and by the way, their wines are first rate, but you might buy the case as gifts. I mean, even if you don't drink wine, you often need to take a bottle of wine to a dinner party, so just take one. When you go into the Qantas into the Qantas Wine Club website, click on the menu and choose bonus. You might have to wade through quite a few pages, but usually the best deals are on the first page. As an example, you might be offered a mixed case of whites or reds from anywhere from $250 to $350. Now, this might sound more than you'd normally pay for a bottle of wine. In this case, it'd be $20 or $29 per bottle. But if you receive 10 or 12,000 points, it's worth it, and you receive exceptional quality wines. As a comparison, if you flew Hobart to Melbourne or Hobart to Sydney one way in economy, you'd receive only 800 frequent flyer points. A return would be 1,600. And it's going to cost you anywhere from 140 each way to Melbourne and 180 maybe from Hobart to Sydney. That's assuming you use Qantas, of course, so I'm basing those fares on a full-service airline. So you would have to take 8 return flights to, say, Sydney or Melbourne to accumulate 12,000 points. But if you buy one case of wine for $350, you're going to get 10 or 12 or even more points. It's a really great way to accumulate points very quickly. It's really worth thinking about. The Qantas Wine Club offers some bonus cases of wine for 25,000 points, but be aware they might be only half cases, that's 6 bottles. You've really got to look and make sure it's a full case or half a case. And these are premium wines that will potentially be very expensive per bottle. Maybe though it's worth considering these bottles as special gifts for friends on special occasions and a way of you acquiring a massive amount of points quickly. Woolworths Everyday Rewards. Join Woolworths Everyday Rewards online. It's easy and free. You earn 1 reward point for every dollar you spend at Woolworths, BWS, Big W, Ampol and many other partners. When you reach 2,000 points, you can convert it to a $10 shopping voucher or 1,000 Qantas Frequent Flyer points. Woolworths offer many Boost products weekly. Click on Boost and you'll receive many more bonus reward points. So you're not necessarily spending $2,000 to get the 1,000. There's a lot of products that will be boosted. But they're very sneaky supermarkets. To give you an example, I really like Irish breakfast tea, Twinings, and they often will offer the boost, but it's not the week they're on special. So you're paying the full price. So you've got to really weigh it all up. Qantas Hotels. Qantas Hotels offer frequent flyer points on more than 200,000 hotels worldwide when booked using their hotel booking website. They also offer frequent flyer points on Airbnb bookings. Cancellations and changes are often permissible with an active cancellation window. They also offer bonus points per booking, but be careful and first check with other hotel booking websites to see if the offer is worth it. You usually have to pay up front, even if the booking is a year away, whereas, for example, Booking.com quite often allow you to pay on the day you stay and also offer generous cancellation terms, but not always. Like everything, you need to read the fine print for every offer for every hotel. Qantas points are credited to your account within 8 weeks after your stay, so it can be a long wait to get them. Qantas Hotels also offer points plus pay, where you can use some of your frequent flyer points and some cash to pay for the hotel. I've occasionally used this, but it's not always the best way to use points. If you book a hotel when there's a bonus promotion and then you change the booking, in most cases you'll lose the bonus. If you have an Accor Plus card and book a hotel through the Accor website, you will receive bonus Qantas Frequent Flyer points. It's a complicated formula, but I've been very happy with all the extra points I've received. So there's many terms and conditions associated with Qantas Hotels, and most hotel bookings websites you will really need to do your own research to see which suits you best. Qantas Insurance. Qantas Qantas offers travel, car and home insurance. They offer lots of bonus frequent flyer points to join up, but like all insurance offers, read the fine print carefully. The bonus points offer may have many conditions attached. For example, they might say earn up to 40,000 points. The key words are up to. It's often for a full family where you get the most, whereas if you do it as an individual, you won't get anything like that. So that's all I want to say on the matter, but by all means research their website because it might suit your needs. Oh, hang on, I've missed one. Oh, that's the one I want to do. Qantas Pay. What happened there, Tim? It was large and... Oh, no, there it is. Right, this is one of those cases where if you apply for a Qantas Frequent Flyer membership with the option of Qantas Pay, your Frequent Flyer membership has no joining fee. This is a card you can use to load up to 10 foreign currencies, including Australian dollars. It's a versatile card. Recently in Hong Kong, I overspent my allocation of Hong Kong dollars and it simply converted and used some of my Australian dollars because that was my default currency to pay the account. When I left Hong Kong sometime later after uploading some more Hong Kong dollars, it allowed me to cash them in and convert the balance to English pounds because I'm going there shortly. And it did all this electronically. It may also allow you to transfer funds to another Qantas Pay card holder, and I'll give you an example. When John and I were travelling, he lost his Qantas Pay card and he had a slight panic attack. But when we got to England, he rang them and they allowed him, much to my delight, to transfer all of his money to my card. So I was in charge of the funds. I did dish out little bits to him here. But it meant we had access to that money, whereas we would have had, well, John might have been struggling, not me, but John might have been struggling. So it was easy to do. It really only took a few minutes. I mean, obviously I had to give all sorts of security. I had to talk to the guys as well and answer lots of security questions, but it came in a flash. I think it was there within an hour or something. It was really fantastic. So you earn 1.5 Qantas points for every Australian dollar spent in foreign currency overseas, and you earn 1 Qantas Frequent Flyer point for every $4 Australian spent in Australian dollars. Qantas Pay often has promotions where if you upload certain minimum amounts, you receive quite generous bonus Qantas Frequent Flyer points. There are no monthly fees, no transaction fees, no bank fees, no BPay load fees, and there's fee-free load options. Qantas Shopping, also known as Qantas Marketplace. Qantas offer frequent flyer points on purchases made to over 1,200 brands. You must be a Qantas frequent flyer to earn and use the Qantas points. Free shipping applies when you spend $300 or more in value. There are free returns on selected products. You can either use frequent flyer points to buy products or earn 3 frequent flyer points per dollar spent. There are so many brands and products I don't have the time to cover them here. Needless to say, you need to go onto the Qantas Shopping website and look for yourself. Right now, just a little bit about Qantas Business Rewards and your ABN, Qantas Points and Status Credits. Now, Qantas Business Rewards, does anyone here have an ABN? Right. If you haven't done it already, I suggest you link it to your Qantas Frequent Flyer. You effectively double dip when you and any of your employees or relatives fly. It's not quite as generous as the frequent flyer points you receive personally, but it's a great bonus. Just make sure your ABN is listed on your booking. If it isn't, simply add it. But normally it just pops up. You can also save up to 10% on selected flights, usually more international than domestic. It mainly applies to full price flights, although internationally I've saved quite a bit, even on discounted flights. Right, Points Club and Points Club Plus. You may have never heard of these, but Qantas Points Club is a rewards program for Qantas Frequent Flyer members who earn a significant amount of points on the ground. In other words, not flying, just things you buy day to day. It recognises and rewards members who accumulate points through everyday spending. To join Points Club, members need to earn 150,000 points within their frequent flyer membership year. Now that may sound like a lot, but there's lots of ways of accumulating these points. You don't have to spend $150,000 to get them. Points Club Plus requires earnings of 350,000 points within the same time frame, and I'm dangerously close to getting that. The benefits for Points Club members are access to Qantas Club lounges, discounts and exclusive flying offers. Points Club Plus members receive complimentary Qantas Club membership, 10% discount on Qantas wine, and the ability to roll over surplus status credits. Right, Qantas status credits. Status credits are not frequent flyer points. While you may earn both simultaneously on your flight, status credits reset at the start of each new membership year. They're designed to reward loyalty for flying with Qantas and partner airlines. The more eligible flights you take, the more status credits you earn, and the faster you can achieve and retain Qantas Frequent Flyer status, spanning bronze, silver, gold, platinum and platinum 1. You must take 4 eligible Qantas flights in your membership year, but that can include Jetstar. Bronze is the starting point, and pretty much you don't get anything for that. Silver requires you to earn 300 status credits in your first membership year, but only 250 per year thereafter. And you'll get a 50% bonus points on any flights you take. Gold requires you to earn 700 status credits in your membership year and then 600 per year thereafter, and you get 75% bonus points. Platinum requires you to earn 1,400 status credits in your membership year and then 1,002 per year thereafter, and you get 100% bonus points. Platinum 1 requires you to earn 3,600 status credit in your membership year. Now, Qantas often have a double status credit. They usually do it twice a year, and you really need to look for that because, for example, I booked a flight to London at the end of the year, and I booked it during the double status credit, and I'm going to go to Platinum because I'm going business class, and that's, I think, 350 credits each way, but that's going to double. So I'm going to get 1,400, and I'll be Platinum. So the bonus status thing you've really got to look for, and it's usually, I think, in February and in the latter part of the year, probably October or something like that, August, or it might be August, yeah. But gee, it's a really quick way to move up the status ladder. And once you have gold and you can retain it, you'll have access to all the lounges worldwide. You know, it's fantastic just being able to go into a lounge rather than, well, sitting somewhere else. Right, I think that's it actually. Do I have any more pictures? No. Yeah, that's it. How am I going? Oh, it's all right. So, questions. Are there any questions? So there's a colossal amount to take in there, and you're probably all a bit sort of wondering what on earth I was talking about at times, but does anyone have any questions? I mean, presumably you all have you all got, are you all members of a program, a flying program? Yeah, Virgin or one of them. Yeah. But I mean, if you're a bit savvy and you fly relatively often, it's not very difficult to accumulate these points. I mean, you know, I always got plenty of them. And I can, as long as you book in advance and you know what you're doing, you'll often get the complimentary, you know, frequent flyer flights. A lot of people moan that, I can't find them, but they've left it till the last minute. And of course you're not going to get a frequent flyer flight if you do it the day before. The other thing that Qantas has introduced that's made it a little bit more difficult is most of the flights are considered classic flight awards, but they now have a Classic Plus. And I noticed when I looked on some months in the future to go to London, there were no Classic Award frequent flyer flights. They were all Classic Plus. And Classic Plus are almost double the amount of points you require than a Classic flight. So, you know, I think so many people accumulated points during COVID. They want people to burn them up, and they want them to burn up lots. And if you want to go, you might have to use a lot more points to actually get to London or somewhere like that, or Los Angeles. Neil, yes.
So, is it true that the frequent flyer program has really been tightened up?
I'd say yes. Yeah, it has. It used to be, well, it was always tricky to get points, as I said, if you left it till the last minute to book a flight and use points. But yeah, they've introduced this Classic Plus, which didn't exist a few years ago, and whereas I think you could have maybe got business class to London and back for 280,000 points return. It's a lot more than that now because there are no Classic Award flights that seem to be available. They're all Classic Plus. So yes, you need a lot more.
And is there a time limit on the accumulation of points?
No, the points will stay there, but you still have to fly with them. I think you've got to fly with them 4 times a year, but that includes Jetstar. 4 sectors, should I say, not return flights. As long as you do 4 sectors in a year, you retain them.
What's the sector? Hobart?
Oh yeah, Hobart, Melbourne, Hobart, Adelaide, yeah. Mm.
Status credits. Is there any logic between how many status credits you get for a flight?
Yes, there is a formula, and you can.
It's easy because it's $100.
In a way, yeah. If you go to the Qantas Frequent Flyer site, if you click on calculators or just put in Qantas Frequent Flyer calculator, you can then put in your flight that you're going to do, any random flight for that matter, and it'll tell you how many points you get, assuming you're flying whatever economy. If you fly business, by the way, you'll get a lot more, but most of us are flying economy. From Hobart to Melbourne, Hobart to Sydney, I think you only get 10 in economy. But somebody I know recently went business class to Sydney and they got 40 that they paid for a business class fare.
So what's the point of, why does the airline give you a status credit and points?
I think it's because of loyalty. They want you to accumulate enough so that you become silver or gold, and then you want to maintain it, because particularly if you're gold, silver, you don't get much for silver really, but if you can get to gold and you need to accumulate 700 in a year initially, but then only 600 after that, I actually don't find that very difficult at all, and I seem to retain gold every year. And that will give me lots of benefits. You'll get more chance of getting frequent flyer flights, gives you a priority. It gives you priority check-in. You get more points, you get lots more bonuses, and you get access to all the lounges worldwide. All their One World affiliates, Cathay, British Airways, Iberia, whoever it is. John and I took a flight from Malaga to London, and it was with BA, and they had a sort of combined lounge at Malaga Airport, but it was absolutely magnificent. And also you get a free meal essentially, because we were there at lunchtime. And yes, there was a rather embarrassing thing that happened on that flight, because I was much higher up the pecking order than John, and we'd booked. It was the one time we'd booked separate flights. We had different booking numbers. I'd used a voucher that I had with BA that I couldn't use during COVID years, and John used frequent flyer points. And when I went to check in, right at the last minute, it went beep, 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 and they said, "Oh, Mr. Heathorn, you've been upgraded." And John wasn't. And I sort of felt terrible about it. And I thought, well, how can I be upgraded? Because this aircraft, it didn't have a business class. I thought, what am I being upgraded to? And I said, what am I being upgraded to? And she said, oh, you're going into row 2. And I thought, well, big deal. But anyway, I sat in row 2 and I said to the chap next to me who'd also been upgraded, I said, well, what are we doing here? And he said, oh, it's much better than down the back. And I said, oh, really? And he said, yes, you've got a much nicer meal, unlimited drinks, and the seats actually are a bit wider. And I did go down to see how John was going. I had to push away a flannelette curtain to find him. He wasn't amused. He got half a sandwich and a glass of water, I think, wasn't John? Something like that. So there are little benefits like that. And so if you're gold, that was just an automatic upgrade. I didn't ask for it. They just gave it to me. So yeah, that's another.
Just a question related. The exchange rates on Qantas Pay, are they pretty good?
Yeah, once again, you need to shop around and see if you can get a better rate. But often they will offer a really good rate to get you in. And we're going to... Yeah, they had an offer just recently that was actually very good when we compared the rates you'd get at banks or at exchange bureaus.
And related, do you take physical cash?
Yes.
You do? Yeah.
I always take some cash.
And how do you get that? Do you get it from one of the...
Well, at the moment, most banks won't don't have a facility anymore, but there's Flight Centre have one in Collins Street. Well, there's one actually in Cathedral Arcade upstairs, you know, in the middle, near H&M, and there's one just there. And when I was going to China, I asked what the rate was, but I thought I'm not going to buy them yet. So I went over the road, and the Flight Centre one was much better, like substantially better. So yeah, like anything, you've got to shop around a bit. But yeah, I always take cash. I think it's always handy to have some cash. You just never know. Particularly if you're in France where you need coins to go to the toilet. You know. Yes, Liz.
You mentioned getting an automatic upgrade, but I've sometimes had invitations before I fly
Yes.
to upgrade. Can you comment on that?
Yes, you might be. What status are you with? Oh, it's amazing you got an offer. Good on you. Good on you. Yeah, or they'll offer you a chance to upgrade and pay. Oh, that's what you mean, yes. Oh, that's different, yeah. Yeah, that, they often do that. You almost have to bid for the upgrade. It's pretty difficult doing that on a Hobart, Melbourne now have A220s into Sydney, and there's only 10 business class seats. So they're usually just snapped up by people that are using points, or they're airline staff, or something like that. Actually, something that happened to me, this is rather interesting. I flew to London in first class some years ago, both ways, using points. No, I tell a lie. I was flying business and I used points to upgrade to first. I thought I'd like to try it, see what it was like, and it was fantastic. But our plane had a mechanical issue of some problem in Dubai, and we were stuck on the tarmac for an hour. And the sommelier came round and said, "Oh, we're going to have a party. You don't have to stay in your seats like everyone down the back." So we all got up and we're all given French champagne. I mean, it was fantastic. But the interesting thing is, not one single person had paid for their seat. And there were 15 of us. So they were either current Qantas staff, retired Qantas staff. One of them was an ex-Qantas captain who's now become quite a close friend of mine. People that were Platinum 1 who were automatically offered an upgrade, or people like myself who were in business and had used points to upgrade. And I thought, how much longer is first class going to, you know, it's not going to be around for much longer, I don't think, if no one's actually paying for it. But it was interesting. I just asked, unusually for me, I asked a few questions. So that's how I found out. But everyone was quite happy to talk about it. Anything? Yeah.
This is sort of an observation and a question. So would it be fair to say that this loyalty program is a way of locking you into Qantas?
Oh, completely.
That you have to buy their wine, do their shopping.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to do anything, but
to maximise the points of it.
Yes, of course. Yeah, definitely. Yes, it is. That's what most loyalty programs are about. Whether they're Woolworths or whatever, you know, they're offering you some incentive. And look, I have to say I've used it as much as I possibly can, and it's been very beneficial.
Right. So you think that, you know that saying, it's pointless to spend $1 to get 50 cents, you know? So would you say that you're ahead of the 8 or...
Oh, well and truly. Yeah. Well, with like that trip around the world for $1,000 in business, and one sector was in first class. In fact, I was the only person in first class. That was on the British Airways flight, and I thought, I must have been a bit too eager. You know, I got on, and I said to the staff, "Oh, where is everyone?" And they said, "Oh, you're it." And I said, "But don't you upgrade?" "No, we don't upgrade anyone." And they said, "Boy, are you going to be spoiled." And I could have whatever I wanted. I said, "I like the look of those lovely, what were they, like it was a shrimp or sort of cocktail thing." And I said, "Does that mean I could have 2? "Oh, you can have as many as you like." So, and one of the captains came down and talked to me. He sat next to me and talked to me for about 10 minutes. The 2 flight attendants were fabulous. They even did the safety drill. And I said to the guy, "Why are you doing that? There's no one there." "Oh, I still have to do it." And he came over to me and was chatting, and I said, what did you do before this? And he said, I was a drag queen on the Canary Islands. I said, really? He said, yes. And then he showed me photos of his past life. And I said, gee, what made you change? He said, horrible life, no, really late nights. I just wanted something closer to home, and he could drive from Heathrow to his house. So, yeah, it was very interesting. Anybody else? I think we've done it. Okay. All right, thanks everyone.
What's the next one?
The next one what?
Your next Qantas card, what will that be?
Well, Alison's been very pushy and in the nicest possible way, followed by David. I might do one on the Isle of Man because I'm going there in a few weeks. So I'm thinking I might do that one.
Excellent.